We're here today with Gene Skillin, formerly out of Florida, now in Alabama, correct? Is that
Yeah,
right,
we
Gene?
live up in Huntsville, Alabama now.
All right. Well, the reason I wanted you to come on today is I trust your opinion. You've been to a whole lot of SCA events, and I want to get some advice for promoters, things that they may do in their
Okay.
events that you've seen as a cooker that just might help out a new promoter. So,
Yeah.
how many events
Well, and
did you
we've
do
seen a
last
lot.
year?
We've seen a lot of first-time events that do really well. We've seen a lot that have a few that have struggled, and
Mhm.
then some that have gone to be very successful multi-year events. So, yeah, I'm happy to talk about that.
Good, good. Well, when you're looking at a schedule, how far out do you look on the schedule? Like, do you plan ahead or?
I look a couple months out. Yeah, I do. I plan ahead. I do look out. I've started to see now about what's out there, and we're filming this now. It's in mid-September.
Mhm.
I hate to date that, but it is. So I'm starting to look
Oh,
at November and December now. I've already kind of peaked at October and know what we're going to do. So I'll look out 2 or 3 months and see what's coming, and then a lot of times I'll make my decision on where I'm going a week or two before. Generally, it's probably 2 weeks before, depending on, we've got two boys and a family, so
yeah.
I may want to go somewhere, but some family things may have to take priority. It does. So,
Family comes first.
but
We get
yeah, I'll
that.
look out a few months and then kind of decide 1 to 2 weeks before where we're going to cook.
Okay. So, things can change, and there's a lot of people that wait till the last 2 weeks, but getting that thing out early is really important, I think, for the promoters. Get it out on the
I think it's
schedule.
important to get it out early. I think it's important to promote it early,
Hmm.
get it out in front of the cooks, let them know what the cause is, what you're raising money for, what the location is, and it's the promoter is there for a reason, right? They're there to promote the event. The reps can do so much to get it on the SCA page and in and around, but the promoter has the best contacts in that community, in that area, to really push the word out to other people to get involved. Certainly we'd like to see the sport grow, and some of the ways that we do see it grow are through new cooks first time in local areas that are wanting to come test the waters and see what it's about. And a lot of that is directly related to how well the promoter gets out and promotes in the community.
That makes perfect sense. So, what's the most important thing for you when you're looking at an event?
Yeah, I think of a couple things. Distance, of course, is one of them. You
Sure.
know, I can't go to. I live in Alabama, so I'm not really looking at a California event, or I'm not looking at a New England event. So distance certainly
Mhm.
plays a role in there. I look at what they're raising money for. That's one of the things that I'll consider. If it's a event that maybe it's a little bit further, but it's something that is near and dear to something that's important to our family or to their cause. We've done a few that have raised money for some very good nonprofits. So, who it impacts is certainly, a big thing. And then, we do think sometimes about payout or, trophies, intriguing trophies. That's kind of a fun one that gets thrown out there. There's some really cool events that
Yeah.
have unique trophies to that area. And, I think of a couple in particular, but that'll draw some teams when you're thinking about the trophies or certainly what the payout for the event is going to be.
On those trophies, to me, it's super important to go all the way through 10, too, whether it's a trophy or at least a certificate.
Oh,
A new cooker that gets his
yeah.
first call, that means the world to him. So at least
Oh,
something down.
100% it means something to them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
and
a
listen, trophies don't have to be expensive.
no.
They can be something unique to that area. And I think about there's an event, I guess the ACE event where they do the saw blades,
Well, let me.
and they're old used castaway saw blades. Probably don't cost anything to do, but they're etched or painted and they're
Mhm.
given out. There are a couple that are well, we've got one coming up this weekend. There's a drink anything
Mhm.
sponsored by Jack Daniels, and the trophy is a barrelhead. It's a Jack Daniel etched
Nice.
barrelhead, which is first place.
Well,
So
I have some samples here. Let me put these up on the screen, and
yeah,
we'll kind of check them out. And if you want to talk on them, you can. But the first one is just a video I took of that event in Pennsylvania that you mentioned. That's funny because I had this saved for
okay,
someone else. But they do the saw blades. He works in the oil and or in gas, So this is what they cut the streets with. So he brings them home, cleans them up. His wife has is it a cricket? I think it's a cricket, the little sticker maker.
Yeah.
But let me pop that up on the screen here because it's a neat.
Yeah.
And then he does smaller.
And see, even those small ones down to 10th place, they're in the same theme as the rest of the event, which is nice to have.
You know, this particular event's owned by is for an Ace Hardware. So saw blades are great. Little saws were neat. They do a great job every year. I'm gonna hit it one more time because it's real short, but you should have seen some of the ladies that won these saw blades. They're 33 inches across trying to hold it. They are heavy.
Yeah.
It's a unique trophy.
We cooked an event last weekend where the first place, they were laser cut metal plaques. It was in Mississippi, so they were cut out in the shape of the state of Mississippi, and it was in Corinth. And if it was a steak event, or if it was the steak award, there was a laser cut steak in the spot where Corinth is in the map of Mississippi.
Oh, really?
The ribs had a rib cut. Yeah, so they cut out a little laser cut, whether it was ribs, whether it was steak, or whether it was the other ancillary right in that spot of Corinth. So those are fun. Those were unique. I know there's been a trend on wrestling belts. There's been a trend on some other things. Here's one other advice I maybe would give is if you're considering a first time adding on to another event. So for example, maybe it's an established car show, an established barbecue, an established some other fundraiser. Try to make the steak trophies as equal as you would the other trophies. And we've all cooked somewhere. The established event has great big trophies, and then the steak add-on Friday night has little bitty teeny medals.
You know, that happens.
It happens some, but that's something to think about.
Absolutely.
You might find something local that's donated that represents your area much less expensive than ordering medals from a trophy shop.
Yeah.
And the cooks will appreciate them long.
I have some of your medals, actually. I'm going to pop those up.
Okay.
There's a couple that aren't, but it's just kind of a variety. They have to have SCA on them to begin with, but I mean, that was one that they have, that particular town, they make those fire hydrants in town, and first place got that hydrant.
Yep. That's Albertville, Alabama, and actually I've got the 9th place. There's my little 9th place from that same one. So first place got a full-size metal fire hydrant, which is cool, and then on down still had those. Yeah, those are two. Those are from last weekend.
Those are neat.
The red one with the steer skull on the right was kind of cool. That was a Tennessee contest.
Okay.
I see you got some River City. That's up in Iowa, I believe.
They do a good job. And, any of these aren't that expensive to get. And it means a ton to the cooks. I mean, there's people that, like last weekend, I ran one that had wrestling belts. Oh, let me remove that. I had one that had wrestling belts. So there was teams that came just to get a wrestling belt or try to win a wrestling belt. It's just something different.
Yeah.
He went over the top. He did belts for each category, big belts. I mean, actually, I have one right here. And then he did small belts for everyone else, top 10. He went a little heavy, but teams are going to remember. I've
got 2 wrestling belts that we've won over the year. One of them, we've won 2 wrestling belts, both actually cooked up in Georgia. One was at a nonprofit, raised money for a hospital foundation, gave away wrestling belts, and one was for a youth football cheer program. Did a year they gave away a wrestling belt.
Yeah, but I just think it's important to hit top 10 on those and top 5 on ancillaries, because we have to call them to stage anyway. You might as well reward them with something, and it could be their first call ever. So what else is important? As far as when I'm running an event, lighting is important to me as a rep that runs the event, and very, very important to you guys.
Oh, lighting is very important. For a cook side, lighting is very important. And I'm not going to get into a debate on what kind of lighting, but just that it's enough. I can think of 2 events that we've cooked that were under pavilions that had small, just screw-in light bulbs that were turn-ins after dark, and there wasn't enough light to give the cooks the benefit of the doubt. And thankfully at that event, 1 judge and maybe 2 cooks had enough LED lights extras that they've
Yeah.
kind of put them up and kind of rescued that. But yeah, as a promoter, I would say make sure that the light is adequate and that it's bright.
And it doesn't have to be LED, it doesn't have to be incandescent. It
No.
could be, but long as it's consistent. Because it cooks,
Yeah.
most promoters don't realize our doneness is based off of a card that had variations of doneness on it. So they physically compare it to that card as a judge. So that lighting is really important. I have cooks walk in a judge area before an event, and I've made it a point now just to set up the tables as soon as I get there, and I station them best I can under the lights so to get the most even light. But that's
And I see promoters that I cook with do the same thing, or reps that I cook at their comps do the same thing. They try to set the tables up directly under the light. And as a cook, for me, whether it's incandescent, whether it's LED, whether it's halogen, I'll make an adjustment on that based on my cooking style. But I want to make sure that it's bright. I want to make sure that the judge has every opportunity to view that steak, compare it to that card to make sure that it's a good medium doneness.
There you go.
Yeah, so lighting's very important. Steak quality is very important.
Yeah, that's.
I know that SCA has a standard, right? We've got the standard, or you do on choice or better, and an inch and an eighth thick, and that we've cooked some contests where they've been thicker, they've been thinner, the quality's been higher, the quality's been lower. So as a new promoter, I know sometimes people will donate either money or donate steaks, or just make sure that you take a look at the quality standard of SCA and try to hit that. There'll be times that things don't always go as you plan, but if you make every effort to take a look at the quality of the steaks you're getting.
That inch and an eighth to an inch and a quarter is really important for the cooks. I mean, that's what they practice with at home. And I've had an event before that I purchased the steaks. I explained the standard to the guy multiple times at Sam's or wherever I was that day, and they just missed the mark on it. And the bad side is when we get there, everyone's cooking the same steaks, but it's not ideal. And if you make a mistake like that, or the butcher does, then you need to explain that to the teams. You got to be real forthcoming on it, because they'll forgive you once.
We were at an event one time, and they will. And this is another good point. We were at an event one time where a promoter ordered steaks in. We saw the box. The box said that they were inch and eighth ribeyes, but when they pulled them out, they were only 1 inch thickness, and they were somewhere that they ordered them in. They were already individually packed. So they pulled those back out, put them out on the table. But even what the promoter asked for, they did not get. And so, another important thing is what you just mentioned. Cooks will be very forgiving if you own it. In that case, the promoter said, "Hey, I tried my best. This is what I wanted. This is what I got. I sincerely apologize. We'll make the correction next time." And they absolutely owned that and moved on. And the cooks were good with it. So I don't want you to think that you've got to pull off a perfect event, because it's going to be a first time for you. There'll be challenges coming in, things that you've not anticipated. Hopefully the rep walks you through. But, if little glitches happen or little hiccups happen, as a cook, I'm just looking for a promoter to say, you know what, I did my very best. This didn't go exactly as I planned. I'll make a correction the next time. And I've seen cooks just, thank you, we appreciate it, and love the event. And the event continues on 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
How do you feel about registration, whether it's done on our site or they try to do it on their own? We're really steering people away from doing it.
Yeah, it's easier for me as a cook if it's done through the SCA webpage, because I've got a subscription membership there where I can go in and register and pay. So it's easier for a cook if it's done on site, or if it's done on the SCA webpage. And so that's my preference, and that's something for a promoter to consult with the representative and with you all at the time. But that would be my preference.
I guide them 100% to do it on the site. Getting a team list late, it just affects too many things, and we just don't seem to get what we need to run the event properly. So I like everything on the site. Everyone knows it's one place, one-stop shop.
Yeah. Here's another thing is, if it's done on the SCA site, then I can see as a cook how many people are coming. And
Correct.
I'm thinking about it this weekend where the promoter's trying to get some extra people to come. It's an event that's just based on the weekend, based on travel, is a little bit low. And I know there's some people wanting to go to support that because they see the numbers are a little bit lower. If it's done on the promoter's event and we don't get to see that as a cook, where maybe we'll jump in and say, okay, I've got an hour that way, I've got an hour and a half this way, maybe I'll go ahead and support this one because they're struggling. It's the first year and I want to go help them out.
Yeah, well, that's a good point too. I didn't think about that side of it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if you could give one piece of advice, what would you give a new promoter? And I know we covered some of this, but maybe you have
one piece in 5 parts.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I think one of the most important things, we talked about promoting the event, be a good self-promoter. I would say be visible as a promoter, as you're there to raise money for your cause, for what you're hoping to raise awareness of. And so as a cook, it's nice to see promoters walk around, engage with the teams, talk with the teams, be at awards. That's important to us because we've invested money to enter, to travel, overnight stay in hotel, time away from family. So having a friendly environment is huge. So that would be my advice from the cook side: is good, friendly location, walk around, be visible.
That's good advice.
Be thankful we're there. We're thankful to be there. We're happy to be there.
Absolutely. Anything you want to add? I mean, just anything you think else?
There's a couple nuances that happens. Yeah, I was going to mention payout. We talked a little bit about trophies down to 10. There's some discussions about payout, and as a promoter, you've got to decide whether that payout is all the way down to 10 and what that number looks like, and that's for you and your finances. But I do know we've been to a couple events where there have been some limitations where maybe there has to be a tax form filled out, checks have to be made, those kinds of things. If those are things you have to navigate, then let the cooks know and let the reps know up front. I'd rather know as a cook at 6 o'clock when I'm signing in, if we happen to get a call that we've got to do some forms and wait on a check, versus 9 o'clock and I'm loaded and awards are done, and then all of a sudden that just kind of gets dropped. Hey, we got to get a lot of this done. It'll be another 45 minutes. And so that would be some advice. Go ahead.
Guys like you, though, I mean, it is important because you're probably heading to another event. If it's a Friday, you're probably heading somewhere Saturday if it's close. So getting out is important.
Yeah, that happens a lot. That'd be another bit of advice if you're a first-time cook or first-time promoter. Maybe join up with another event near your area. If you're in, and I'm in Alabama, so say somebody's in Middle Alabama and they're wanting to host a first-time event, maybe look for one that's already on a Saturday that's established, and maybe consider pairing up if you're relatively close on a Friday or on a Sunday. And then as a cook, that gives me another few opportunities to enter. And that's been popular with first time, is maybe pair up on a Friday night or if need be on a Sunday close to an established event. And it becomes a weekend for me where, with the same travel, I can hit 3 or 4 events instead of 1 or 2.
Consolidate, save some gas.
Yeah.
Right.
I think this was a good thing. I'm glad you're doing this. And for any of the promoters that are out there, I encourage you to do a new event. We're all excited about growing, bringing new cooks into the event, bringing new locations into the event, into the SCA, and hopefully be able to get out to one of yours soon.
Well, Gene, I appreciate your time, and I know it'll help these new promoters. And we had over 200 new promoters a year ago come into the system, and the last 9 events I got this week were all new events that were first-time events. So the newer promoters need to hear these things, and you've given some great feedback. I appreciate you coming on and giving us your time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, thanks for putting this together.
Hey, no problem, man. You have yourself a great afternoon. Maybe stop and get a Chick-fil-A sandwich or something, and a little bit of lemonade.
Yeah,
I know it's your favorite.
Tomorrow will be Gibson's peanut butter pie for lunch is a good luck, and then Saturday morning is always a Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit.
Chicken biscuit.
Not that we're superstitious, but we believe in doing the same thing over and over again.
Repetition.
Consistency.
All right, buddy. Have a great day. Thanks again.
See you. Bye, Brett.